investigated and, let's say, addressed. Would that be sort of maybe a summary or a fair assessment of?
Yeah, I mean, it's a fair assessment. I would say there are no the art of injury prevention really isn't a direct science.
Mhm.
It's more of an art form, really.
Yeah,
The contributing factors to injuries really can't be laid blame to one sole problem. Really,
yeah,
the overall contribution of a number of things, be that posture, be it exposure to load, be it any biomechanical faults that could contribute to that.
yeah,
Really, the collection of those is the biggest real
yeah.
predictor of injury occurrence.
Cool.
But identifying those clear dysfunctions,
Yeah.
if they do fit a clinical picture, then definitely those contributions are a big influence to injury occurrence.
Cool. Yeah, and I think that's probably because I'm reading Gray Cook's book, Movement, and it's always been sort of in the back of my mind as a philosophy that I've had, but I've never really recognised it. In that, in the book, he talks about integrating programs and what he calls systems. I don't know if you're familiar with the
Yeah,
book, but obviously a program is a prescribed program that gets written and someone follows it to the letter. Whereas sort of a method or a system, as he described, is sort of it's built over time. So it's not okay. Here's your bit of paper with everything written on. Off you go. It's more, let's have a look and see what we got, and then we'll start building something. And then in 4 weeks' time, we might notice something else, and then we'll, in a sense, we'll build the next month or the next 2 months from there.
sure. I mean, the process of a system, like you say, it's the human body's constantly changing,
Mm-hmm.
and both through whether it's a strength and conditioning program that's changing that, or whether it's just the fact that um, lifestyle has started to change through any effects of such a program. I think a system has to be fluid to kind of adapt to that, really, and change as the human posture changes, or as the human um, general mobility changes. I think there has to be that element of adaptability, really.
Cool. And so I think to maybe start, 'cause I guess we could call this interview a little bit of a journey. And I'm sort of seeing that we're gonna move around the body, as it were. But what I think is a good place to start is let's call it our connection with the ground. So we're going to start with the feet, and maybe how can, let's say, stable, strong, healthy feet impact posture throughout the body. And maybe as you answer the question, maybe you'll mention different body parts, and then we'll just move, let's say, around the body. Because when I interviewed Gray, we were sort of discussing it as a very sort of holistic system and how it impacts on each other. So I think as just a starting block, and we'll move around, let's just talk about maybe the feet and I guess the subject of barefoot training, and how can barefoot training aid someone in, let's say, functional movement and building a stronger, healthier, fitter, more athletic body.
Sure. I mean, the key for me is sensation.
Hmm.
The amount of sensation you get through a barefoot
Yeah.
compared to something that's either in a fully shod shoe, or a cushioned trainer, it's remarkable.
Hmm.
The foot itself has got somewhere in the region near on 250,000 of sensory nerve endings in the bottom of the foot, and by wearing a trainer, you're covering those up and really reducing what you're feeling through your feet. I
Hmm.
mean, that's the biggest thing for me. Gray's got his movement principles that he's recently published. His sixth principle is quite an interesting one, really. Perception drives movement behavior, and
Yeah.
movement behavior modulates perception.
Hmm.
So, adding perception will again improve and drive movement behaviors.
Yeah.
So it's really important for me, if the situation is possible where you can go barefoot. I
Yeah.
mean, obviously, with society and industrialization of buildings and what have we now, it's difficult to really predict where you're going to be running barefoot
Hmm.
outside. But if it's in a controlled environment,